We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel, ring that notification bell, smash that like button. And if you want to support this Rebel Outpost, the home for the college football sickos, with a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Hit that $ where you make your comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome in everybody, and I mean everybody, even those evil badgers on Axe Week. Everybody come on into the studio for today. This is 24 War Room. Yes, we're talking about the college football playoffs once again. The future format. Yes, we're going to talk about it once again. The dream is alive. The dream is alive. Welcome on into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. We are going to be we're going to be a little dramatic here today. Not unlike other shows, but this battle, the Army of 24, that is what we are calling ourselves on X. The Army of 24, this battle that is looming, is for the heart and soul of college football. I know I've tried to explain this before, but I have been re-energized. There was a door open to us here at Peek Around the Corner. And I got to tell you, this college football playoff format battle, it is for the heart and soul of college football. More than I ever knew, more than I ever speculated on or reported on. And we are going to get to it today. The deadline is delayed. The deadline for ESPN to know exactly what the playoffs are going to look like for 2026 has been delayed. Remember, it was going to be December 1st. By the way, that means, everybody, that means no cheeseburger on December 1st. The deadline has been delayed. All right, so the deadline has been delayed. It sounds like until the end of next January. And because remember, if they do not change the college playoff format on or before the deadline, it's going to just revert to the 12-team playoffs for 2026. We are going to go through. We're going to go through an article from The Athletic. We're not going to go through all of it, and then we're gonna go into. You know what? First, I'm gonna show you guys a post that somebody made. Somebody very influential in the college football world. Someone put out a post. I did an emoji on it. And it was a thinking man's emoji, you know, where he's thinking, he's deep in thought. Because it basically aligned with, when I looked at it, and I read it over and over again, and I think about what the door has just been opened to us on something here at Peek Around the Corner, which I'm going to report to you all. And I looked at that, and that was last night. And then I looked at this post of today, and I'm like, the battle for 24 is even bigger than I thought. And you guys know how rabid I am. You guys know how crazy I am. You guys know how I think the college football playoffs of 24 would basically lift up the sport that we love to grand new levels. But I think the battle is even more important now. I want to start off with the post here. I wasn't going to do this, but now I'm thinking about it. I was going to do this post last. I'm going to show this post first. And then we're going to go through the article. And then we're going to go through a couple more things on this. And then I'm going to circle back to that post. Christopher Hooter, thank you for the super chat. Starting us off, LSU Tiger. Five and 19, Greg. 5 and 19, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for the $2 holler. I appreciate it. The 5 and 19 would kill me quicker than me eating a cheeseburger live on this program. No, the cheeseburger is not confirmed. It has been delayed, if it ever is going to happen. Remember, I have to eat a cheeseburger if the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten don't both have 4 AQs in the 2026 playoffs. That is that was, because I call it a fait accompli. The dream is alive, barely, but it's still alive for it to happen. So the cheeseburger, I was going to eat it on December 1st. Look, I know all of you still think I'm going to eat the cheeseburger. We'll see. Well, we're going to find that out together. Look, hold on, everybody. Let me show you guys a post. Give me a moment. This is not going to make any sense. Okay? Not going to make any sense to this story. But I'm going to explain it all at the very back end of this monologue. Remember, do you all remember when Nick Saban do you all remember Nick Saban saying what's going on with Lane Kiffin and having him to make the decision on where he's going to coach? This is a problem that the college football world has created, and we should not blame Lane Kiffin. Remember when he said that on game day? My reaction to that was, what Nick Saban said was not entirely false. This calendar doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? It does not make a whole lot of sense. Where they put the transfer portal, does it really make sense? And the coaching people, if you're coaching a team in the playoffs, it doesn't make sense. The calendar does not make sense. But I disagree with Nick Saban, and most people do, I think. How Lane Kiffin has handled this, I don't think he's handled it very good at all. But that's not the story. I just wanted to put it out there. I think it's some of both. Now, Shannon Terry, who is the founder, CEO of On3 Sports and Rivals. He founded 247 Sports, acquired by CBS. Shannon Terry, okay? CEO On3 Sports Rivals. He's got a real big voice and he's got a lot of the biggest heavy hitters working for him, right? He's got Annie Staples, Ari Wasserman, Pete Knuckles, Brett McMurphy, Chris Lowe. The list goes on and on and on. This is Shannon Terry, a post talking about what Nick Saban said. Okay? Again, Shannon Terry is the CEO of On3 Sports. He is who I would call a big, heavy hitter college football influencer, right? This is what he said today. Coach Saban is not wrong. And that goes for the entire crew calling for guardrails and change. Okay? However, it is not possible. There's no enforcement to support any change. Conferences refuse to work together. And zero chance Congress can get it right. Despite the high risk of litigation, the best solution remains 2 to 3 conferences and the media partners to work together and pull away from the NCAA. Non-participating conferences will sue and problems around media rights, but that is the only path. But this notion that a commissioner or a set of NCAA rules would change anything is naive. This has to start at the conference level. For the love of college sports, this needs to happen. The rights pots would be so much higher as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be going back to this post at the end of the monologue, and I need you all to be here. This is not a shot at Shannon Terry, and I'm just telling you guys, this post, thank God he wrote it. Thank you, Terry, Shannon Terry. Not because I agree with it. No, I do not. I thank Shannon Terry for posting this because this should tell you all you need to know on what is truly going on in college football. I'm going to repeat something here, and then we're going to circle back to it. For the love of college sports, this needs to happen. What needs to happen? For 2 to 3 conferences and their media partners to pull away from everybody else. Everybody else will sue, but that's the only path. Nothing else is going to work. 2 to 3 conferences are going to have to pull away from anybody else. Because nobody's going to be able to change the calendar. Nobody's going to be any enforcement. 2 to 3 conferences has to pull away. All right? Okay, I just wanted to start there. And trust me, we are going to end there by the end of the monologue. Okay? Again, I do not agree with Shannon Terry. But I'm going to go ahead and use a word here. I'm going to use the word establishment, if that is okay. The establishment, the college football establishment, that symbolizes everything that they believe. Everything. That is not just coming from the CEO. That's the CEO all the way down. All the way down. And PATC, College Football Peek Around the Corner, the true rebel outpost, I'm going to fight this every single day. Let me explain. Hang on, everybody. Hang on. Let's go first. Thank you, Christopher Hooter, for the super chat. I appreciate it. We're not going to do a roll call, but I want to thank everybody who has joined us on this live show November 24th. This is a national college football YouTube channel, the most unpopular national college football YouTube channel in the country. If you want to join, if you want to subscribe to the most unpopular college football YouTube channel in the country. Hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell because we can come on live at any time. We are going to quickly go through here. Just give me a moment, everybody. Give me a moment. Again, the title screen of the show, 2026 2014 playoffs dream is alive, deadline delayed. The title of the show is Real Reason Strong Forces in College Football Wants the 2014 Playoffs Dream to Die. And that is what we are going to explain here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Let's start here. We already started with Shannon Terry's post, but that was not a direct connection to what we're talking about. We're going to get back to that at the end of the monologue. This is The Athletic of this morning. An article. We're not going to go through all of it. CFP expansion talks are expected to drag into the 2026 and 2014. Pitch isn't going anywhere. The 2014 pitch is not going anywhere. It's not leaving. Russo and Mandel, any day now, what has been apparent about the college football playoff for weeks, months even, is likely to become official. The CFP will not expand for the next season. It will remain a 12-team event for 2026, the first year of the event's new contract with ESPN. Now, this article was written, published, released before the news came out later today, which we're going to go through, that the deadline has been delayed. Nothing has drastically changed around expansion since the offseason, when the Big Ten proposal for a 16-team field with multiple automatic qualifier bids going to each power conference initially seemed to be leading contender for a future format. But at the SEC's spring meetings, league coaches expressed their preference for a model with 5 AQs and 11 at-large berths. And Commissioner Greg Sankey has not wavered from that stance since. The Big Ten countered this summer with an idea of a 24-team playoff with even more automatic qualifiers that would be to be determined by conference standings. Even if Commissioner Tony Petitti counterparts at the other 9 football bowl subdivision conferences had absolutely loved the idea, and they did not, the chances of implementing a playoff double the size of the current model for 2026 were minuscule. Whatever faint hope there was to agree on some sort of expansion for next year is about to be officially snuffed out with the December 1st deadline to declare a format to ESPN looming. Prepare for another year of expansion talks and for the Big Ten's 24-team model to continue to be part of the discussion, despite the fact that the idea is not particularly popular with fans. I would argue that it's becoming more and more popular. I would argue that it's going to be even more popular after we all find out what teams made it and how the seedings happen for the 2025 playoffs. Fox Sports CEO Eric Shanks, whose network owns the Big Ten media rights, but has thus far been shut out of the CFP through his support behind the model and an industry event in October. I do not see any reason why the CFP can't be 24 teams, he said. You can fit it into the schedule that would give the CFP the opportunity to have more networks involved. Amongst most CFP decision makers, the preferred expansion would be to 16 teams, with mostly at-large bids. Eventually, that might be where the CFP future lands. But for several reasons, people outside of the Big Ten country seem open to considering a format, whether it's the exact one Petitti put together or a variant that is bigger and less subjective. Just listen to them. So, people outside of Big Ten country seem more open to be considering a larger AQ format. No one really trusts the committee. At the heart of the Petitti's complaints with the current system is the role of the selection committee. Petitti has stressed that his criticism has nothing to do with the competence or integrity of the committee's members. He simply believes they are being given an impossible task, and he's not alone. Absolutely. Tony Petitti is absolutely correct on this. A committee is not ideal to choose a postseason. Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland said during an SEC spring meetings, I question whether it is appropriate for college football. Still, the concept of automatic qualifiers is an anathema to SC's current stance on the playoff format, which can be summed up as simply, we want all the bids. SEC, we want all the bids. Any spot that is spoken for in advance via an automatic qualifier is a spot that the SEC believes it could otherwise earn through an at-large selection process. I'm not a big fan of automatic qualifiers, Mississippi State President Mark Keenum said on the SEC's network earlier this month. I think the best teams ought to play in our nation's national tournament to determine who our national champion in college football is going to be. The SEC put only 3 teams in the first 12-team college football playoff last year, and it set off a storm of discontent among its programs. The CFP staff responded by working with a data company to create a new record strength metric for the committee to use and to tweak the way strength of schedule is calculated to put more weight on game against the very best competition. The SEC is currently on track to place 5 teams in the field this season, and that still doesn't seem good enough. We have to figure out how to reward SEC teams for playing in the SEC, Texas A&M coach Mike Elko said last week. Because if we're not going to be rewarded for strength of schedule metrics, and we're not going to be rewarded for strength of record, then it's going to become really, really challenging with us going to 9 SEC games to figure out how the best teams are going to get into the playoffs. It took Sankey a long time, but he finally got his schools to agree to expand the SEC schedule from 8 to 9 games starting next season. The ACC also added a conference game, but it was scheduled in alignment with the SEC that the Big Ten was most concerned about. As much as Sankey and the SEC publicly opposed automatic qualifiers, there's no obviously better way to fill the field more objectively based on on-field results the way pro sports do. In the Big Ten proposed 16-team model, the AQs would have been split up unevenly between the Power 4 each for the SEC and the Big Ten, 2 apiece for the ACC and the Big 12. Conferences would field their AQs via standings and play-in games. It could be argued the ACC and the Big 12 might be better off in the long run, guaranteeing themselves 2 spots in the field. Those leagues got a total of 3 teams in last season playoff, but the brand damage of conceding their conferences are half as good as the Big Ten and the SEC is too much to bear. If there was a conversation about a format that gave the power conferences the same number of automatic qualifiers, I'd be all ears. The Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark said in October, I want to give our schools a chance each and every year to compete at the highest level. So, this was a little bit of a warming to the idea from Brett Yormark. Then maybe a 2014 playoff, everybody having 4 AQs, 6 at-large spots, might be something that Brett Yormark would warm up to. Petiti 2014 playoff fixes that by giving each power conference 4 automatic bids, along with 2 for the group of 6. That would leave 6 at-large bids for the committee to sort through. Right now, the number of teams in the field is not as important to the Big 12 and the ACC as building a format they view as fair. And because ultimately it'll be the SEC and the Big 10 deciding on the format, the new contracts give them that power. Yormark and the ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips might be persuaded to line up behind 24. Redefining success in focusing on the season. A case can be made that every athletic director in the country should push for a 2014 playoff because it might save them money on future buyouts. Petiti raised eyebrows at the Big Ten football media days when he suggested that going 8-4 in the Big Ten is an accomplishment worthy of a playoff spot. But LSU, the LSU Tigers, might not be on the hook for $53 million to former coach Brian Kelly right now if the Tigers had been a playoff team in each of the first 3 seasons, which they could have been with a bigger 24-team CFP. Athletic directors that support a bigger playoff note that early games would be even more exciting than the expedition feel of a bowl games. Instead of 9-3 Illinois, 9-3 South Carolina playing in the Citrus Bowl last New Year's Eve, they would have squared off in Columbia or Champaign, Illinois, maybe with a chance to face Texas on the line. Instead of Miami and Iowa State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, in which quarterback Cam Ward sat out the second half, the Hurricanes might have gone to Ames to face the Cyclones in early December. Our fans are not interested in going to the Outback Bowl in its current form, an SEC athletic director told The Athletic. Keeping more teams in playoff contention deeper into the season should keep fans, players, coaches focused on the current season. Getting to a 2014 playoff would be far more complicated than 16, requiring a full-on elimination of conference championship games, the value of which is also being debated these days. There are concerns that going that big might finally be the tipping point for the devaluation of the regular season, especially at the very top. Would a program like Ohio State, which hasn't played as an unranked team since 2011, ever be in danger of missing the playoff? But the concept is not going away, and it is no longer merely one commissioner's outlandish idea. It was never an outlandish idea. It was never absurd, like Reese Davis said. It is not pathetic, like Josh Pate just said. It is the best idea out there. Because this college football world has completely changed. It is the democratization of the sport. It has increased the value of the regular season. Going from 4 to 12, going from 12 to 24 is the perfect spot I believe. But there's more to the story. There's more to the story than the pros and cons of a 8-team playoff, a 12-team playoff, a 16-team playoff, and a 24-team playoff. We just went through an article this morning from The Athletic. The 24-team playoff format, the battle for it, is not going away. There's a lot more to the 24-team playoff than the Athletic article just went through, right? It gives 8 teams in the first round a home game on campus. It gives another different 8 teams who just had a first round bye, 8 teams at their home campus. Also, well, let's get into this. After this article was released this morning, ESPN and the CFB are finalizing extension, Ross Dellinger, of the network's December 1st format deadline, sources tell Yahoo Sports. This would give the commissioners more time, at least through January, to attempt to agree on a new playoff format for 2026. Commissioners have been at an impasse on the format. The Power Conference commissioners last met about future playoff format last Monday in Charlotte, where the Big Ten presented a 24-team model. Executives agreed to keep further exploring formats beyond 12. The SEC officials, as they have publicly, support 16. Okay. So, after the Big Ten presents the 24-team playoff model officially last week in Charlotte, the ESPN had decided to give the commissioners to extend the deadline from December 1st to at least the end of next January. It could be extended even more. Why is that? Was there some traction to the 24-team playoff? Is Yormark and Phillips getting behind it? Are they? In my opinion, of course they have to be. They have to be. They have to be. A door was opened up to me last night. There was a little bit of a scuttlebutt that maybe this deadline would be extended. That maybe this 24-team playoff is getting more traction. Nowhere near the chalk. Nowhere near the chalk of happening. Not the favorite. But the information that was given to me was more and more people in college football, especially in the Big 12 and the ACC, are looking at this playoffs completely different than they were before. Yes, they do not want to devalue their conference by accepting half of the AQs. Yes, they want fairness. They want access. But there's something else that is driving this 24-team playoff. There are people driving this outside of Big Ten country for the very first time. Now let me go back and first of all, I want to thank everybody for your super chats and for your memberships. And I'm going to get to that as quick as I possibly can. I will get to all that after we finish the monologue. And then we're going to go to your phone calls. We're going to talk about Lane Kiffin and we'll get to your phone calls, okay? But I do thank you for your support. I want to go back to what Shannon Terry said. If you missed it, we started the program talking about Shannon Terry, the CEO of On3, the founder, On3 Sports, Rivals, and he also founded 247 back in the day. Shannon Terry is a big hitter, a big college football influencer. Don't get it twisted, man. He's a big, big hitter. He talks to a lot of people. Come on, guys and gals. This is his statement on the Lane Kiffin, but we're going to tie it into the playoffs here. Give me a moment to explain. Coach Saban is not wrong, and that goes for the entire crew calling for guardrails and change. Again, Shannon Terry and a lot of people want the calendar to be moved forward. They don't want the transfer portal bumping up against the playoffs, all that stuff we've talked about. Shannon Terry. However, it is not possible. There's not possible for any changes. There's no enforcement to support any change. Conferences refuse to work together. And zero chance Congress can get it right. Despite the high risk of litigation, the best solution remains 2 to 3 conferences and media partners to work together and pull away from the NCAA. Non-participating conferences will sue and problems around the media rights, but that is the only path. But this notion that a commissioner or set of NCAA rules would change anything is naive. This has to start at the conference level. For the love of college sports, this needs to happen. The rights pot would be so much higher as well. Okay. You only live once, guys. Or at least that is my belief. I'm going to be blunt here. And then we're going to tie it back to the 2014 playoff because there is a tie to it. This is the belief of Shannon Terry, and it runs through the whole college football reporters establishment. It does. It does. It does. It does. I'm telling you, it does. They're all, I got to be careful. I'm not trying to, this is not a character assassination I'm doing here. I'm just telling you the forces that want a breakaway is so big. Remember we talked about the economics of consolidation? Everything that drove Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, everything that drove USC to the Big Ten. What Shannon Terry is saying here is nothing can be done to solve any of these issues except to have 2 to 3 conferences just split away from everything. Let all the suits, this everybody suing each other. This is the only way. Now remember, 2 to 3 conference pulling away. That guys, gals, Shannon Terry's not going to put it down on words. But he's basically saying Big Ten and SEC split away, and some of the Big 12 and ACC schools go with them. Or most of the SEC and most of the Big Ten split away, and some of the SC of the Big 12, whatever, however you want to say who will go, who will stay. It basically it's going to dissolve the Big 12. It's going to dissolve the ACC, or at least they're not going to go with this breakaway. That's what he's saying, and that's what a lot of people are thirsting for. And I'm going to tell you why they're thirsting for it. But it's not by coincidence or by happenstance. You know, when this Michigan and USC thing, and in Michigan, these guys, you know, I forget what his name. I've already forgotten his name. The Board of Regents guy. Well, you know, Michigan, we shouldn't sign the grant of rights past 2036. We should not extend it because we don't know what's coming next. And you saw the reporting on it. You saw Andy Staples. You saw Ari Wasserman, who all work for Shannon Terry. All of them. You saw, you know, oh yeah, Michigan, they can easily leave. They can join the SEC or the split away, this Super League. And when they're talking about Super League, they're not talking about a 70-team Super League. They're not doing that. They're not even talking about a 48-team Super League. They're talking numbers lower than that. This is what they want, guys. This is what they want. And those schools would probably get a whole lot more money. And they might do this. Like we've said here, peek around the corner. We only said we didn't think they were going to do it in 2025, like a lot of other people are saying, because that was way too early. I'm going to tie it in the playoffs for a second here. Hold on. And look, guys, for the love of college sports, this needs to happen. The rights pot would be so much higher as well. For the love of college sports, for the love of those 40 teams, for their health and well-being, for the love of college sports, for those 40 teams, or 32 teams, or whatever, we need to do this. What Shannon Terry realizes, what the college football reporters realize, what ESPN understands is, and I've tried to explain this before, it's like Adele. I always give the example of Adele. You have an artist, you have a music artist who becomes really, really, really hot. They become world famous. They sell in all these albums. The music industry loves that, not just for Adele, but for the other artists. Because she will raise all the boats. She's going to raise everybody. She's going to raise the revenue of every other artist. Because the people are going to go to her concert, and then they're going to want to go to another concert, a different concert. When they go buy her album or however you guys buy music, you go on the interweb, you buy a song. Now you're there to buy other people's songs. That's why they have the music awards. It's a big advertisement. And they always want the lead dog. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying they want an artist to be really, really hot because it lifts everybody up. Just like in boxing. When Mike Tyson was really hot, it lifted the whole industry up. Just like in professional wrestling. When you've got some hot wrestler, Hulk Hogan, who changed the whole industry, Steve Austin, go on. It's in every entertainment industry. When you got something hot, it raises it all up. When the Yankees are in the World Series, when the Dodgers are in the World, it's best for baseball. Same with the NFL. Okay. What Shannon Terry understands is, if we can just have a Super League of all the big brands, this is going to be hot. They're going to get a whole bunch of more money. They're all going to get more money. Scarcity. They're all going to have the leverage. They're going to get a whole lot more money. And that is going to raise what? On3's revenues. Everybody else's revenue. There is a thirst for more consolidation. The Super League of 70 teams, that is about as doable as bringing back newspapers. But the Super League of 40 or 36, this is why look, all this big money is coming and talking with all these big programs. Michigan has heard it. Everyone has heard it. So, what does this have to do with the 2014 playoff? Greg. Why are you rambling on like a lunatic? Because if a 2014 playoff ever got off the ground, they're going to do everything they can not to have it go off the ground. If it's a success, and I think it would be too big, too successful for them to pull away. In other words, the NCAA tournament, Sankey, Petiti, the Big 12, the ACC, because that large tournament is so successful, it is almost impossible for them to they can't pull away from that. They cannot pull away from the money on that. They would not probably make more money if it was just an SEC, Big 10, Big 12 playoff or ACC tournament. That large, going to the dance is part of American culture. It is more difficult it is too successful. It's too successful. March Madness has become too successful. Yes, Sankey and others, they complain that more of their teams should make and a whole lot of them did last year, but it is too big and too successful to pull away. A 2014 playoff, once that gets established and is highly, highly successful, good luck pulling away from that. Good luck. Because a 12-team playoff, let's say, remember now, Greg Sankey has said this, or it has been reported multiple times that the SEC presidents have given Greg Sankey the authority if he can't stand it any longer, that the Southeastern Conference could pull away from the NCAA and create their own world. A 12-team playoff can be remanufactured by the SEC alone, or the SEC and the Big 10, or an SEC, Big 10, and a few schools in the ACC and the Big 12 to join them. But a 24-team playoff that completely democratizes the sport, if that gets off the ground and it becomes massively success, that pull away becomes way more difficult. And that is the door that was open to us at Peek Around the Corner. Explain to us that thought is finally catching on in ACC and Big 12 country. That a 24, if this thing goes, if we support this thing and it becomes a monster, it becomes even more popular than what we have now, that would be so difficult to walk away from. Every On3 reporter, every ESPN reporter, every single reporter that I listen to, that I read, all of them scoff at the idea of a 2014 playoff. All of them. I don't think it's a coordinated effort. I don't think they all get in a room and say, well, we all got to be for this because our boss. No. But it is in the waters. They're always talking SCC, SCCO, where, it's in the waters. We are so great. Why should we let another G6 team in? That should be our spot. We don't need all these other teams. We don't need all these other fan bases. We don't need all these other parts of the country. It's easier to break away from everybody if this thing doesn't get too big. So the battle for the format of the college football playoffs is a battle for the soul of college football. What do you want college football to be in 2032, 2033, 2034? What do you want it to be in 2026 and 27? What do you want it to be? Is it okay that you watch some blowouts in the playoffs? But there's more access to the playoffs? Or do you want this just to be the top biggest brands in college football with perhaps once in a while a non-big brand school getting into the playoffs? More money possibly for the bigger brand schools. This is the battle set forth. So I believe this deadline was pushed back from December 1st until at least the end of January, because as the Athletic article wrote this morning, even before the breaking news that the deadline was pushed back until next year to decide the college football playoff format for 2026, I think it's because that 24-team playoff is getting traction. It's getting traction in ACC country. It's getting traction in Big 12 country. And I think everybody knows after the December 7th, where we're going to find out the college football playoff, the teams and the seedings for this year's playoffs. After that happens, I think there's going to be an eruption of support for a 24-team playoffs. The dream is alive. Let's get this thing big and beautiful. Big and beautiful. So the threat of anybody using that leverage to break away becomes less and less. That is my thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me get to the kind super chats here. Happy holidays to you and yours. Thank you, Mr. Mazio. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. $5 holla. Ricky Tungate, gifted membership. I did not see who you give that to. Whoever got the membership from Ricky Tungate, Mr. Hoosier, please say thank you to Ricky Tungate when you get an opportunity. Ricky, thank you so very much. You are officially knighted Cloak and Dagger. Thank you for your generosity. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Hoosier. Getting ready to play the Purdue Spoilermakers Evil Badger. What is going on, Evil Badger? It is Axe Week. Super chat. $5 holler. Mad Gopher, are you nervous about losing the Axe Saturday? Yes. Yes. Hopefully that answers your question. I'm not sure there's a team that we can beat right now, other than Nebraska. And that is going to be I am going to hit a new low if that happens. This year has been a lot of lows in Gopher football. And if that happens, I am going to hit the floor. Greg, what date will you officially eat the cheeseburger? I'm going to eat the cheeseburger when we know for sure that the 2026 playoffs does not consist of 4 AQs for the SEC and 4 AQs of the Big Ten. But the deadline has been pushed, so I'm not going to be eating the cheeseburger live on December 1st. Greg has takes that are hard to find elsewhere. I wear that with a badge of honor, sir. I wear that with a badge of honor. Let's see here. If there is a Super League of 30 whatever teams or 40 whatever teams, all the Southeastern Conference teams are going to be in it. John, I bet almost anything that the 4 AQs each for the P2s will never happen. No way the Big 12 is ever going to accept it. Okay, I get it. And I agree with you, John. But that's not the question anymore. That's not the battle lines. The battle lines is 4-4-4-4-2-6 versus 5 plus 11. That's the battle line. There is no more 4-4-2-2. That was dead. That was DOA a long time ago, as we reported here at Peek Around the Corner. 4-4-4-4-2-6. 4-4-4-4-2-6. 6 at large. So the Southeastern Conference is going to get a whole bunch of at-large bids. Most likely, most seasons. The Southeastern Conference is going to have a lot of home games in the first round, in the second round of the playoffs. They're still going to have their built-in advantages, but the floor is going to be raised for the Big 12 and the ACC. So then you know exactly what you need to do to make the playoffs. Finish in the top 4 of your conference. And if you don't, you still have the second bite of the apple. You can get one of the 6 at-large bids if you want a big non-conference game. And that's going to load up the non-conference schedule. This is going to make the regular season way more valuable than it is now. And the 12-team playoff made the regular season more valuable than the 14 playoff. Army of 24. This is the war room. Army of 24. Okay. The dream is alive. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, Rod. The dream is alive. And let's talk about this Lane Kiffin. And then we'll go to your then we'll go to the phone calls. And again, here is the news. Earlier, the College Football Playoff and ESPN have mutually agreed to extend their deadline for finalizing the future postseason format from December 1st to January 23rd. So January 23rd, as of right now, is the new deadline to figure out a college football playoff format for 2026. And again, there's a lot of interest on why people want to expand the playoffs. The Southeastern Conference wants to expand the playoffs. They have their reasons. They want more money. They want more teams in the playoffs. And I believe they want to expand the conference. The Big Ten wants to expand the playoffs. The Big 12 does. The ACC does. But the battle is waging on And here's another point. Here's another point. Not only do I believe the deadline has been moved from December 1st to January 23rd, December 1st, 2025 to January 23rd, 2026, because I think the 2014 playoff is gaining traction in ACC and Big 12 country. But I think the Southeastern Conference might want to, and I think they're probably going to, re-examine, do some more simulations in regards to what is going to happen to the conference once they go to 9 conference games next year. Does the 5 plus 11 really favor the pocketbooks of the Southeastern Conference? I think that's the question they're going to have to, I think that's probably another reason why it got extended. John, there's also the question whether will 8 playoff games in one weekend saturate the college football appetite. There's only so much I want to pay attention to. Okay. All right. The ACC does not deserve 2 teams this year, let alone 4. I don't think you can look at it year by year. Right? I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do that. Like the NFC and the AFC, right? There's so many, what are there, 7 playoff spots in each conference? Sometimes one conference is way down. They lose all those interconferences games. And you say that conference doesn't deserve to have all those teams in. The NBA, Western Conference, Eastern Conference. The Western Conference has been up for quite a bit. The Eastern Conference has been down. That happens. That happens. But at least the ACC knows, going into every season, and all their fan bases know, that the top 4 teams in the standings are going to the playoffs. And if it's a lousy ACC season, then maybe only one of those teams will get a home game in the first round or the second round, because it's going to be straight seeding. So the ACC, if they're having a bad year, are still going to get punished for that bad year when it comes to the playoff seeding. But at least they have a floor in which more and more of their games are valued by their fan bases. And that's going to help their TV ratings. That's going to help their advertising. And you're not going to have, again, like it said in the Athletic article, you've got coaches having pretty good seasons that are now on the hot seat, because going to a bowl game means nothing now. And 12 teams is still only 12 teams. I mean, look at BYU, man. If BYU goes 11-2 and does not make the playoffs again, these last 2 years, the playoffs aren't big enough. Super chat. $10 holla. Yep. Evil Badger. Mad Gopher. I thought we had a friendly wager on the Axe game. If the Gophers lose, you would eat a cheeseburger. If the Badgers lose, I'd give 20 memberships. You are correct. You are correct. So I guess if the Badgers do come into Minnesota and they win the Axe, I will eat a cheeseburger live. We did have that bet. But the cheeseburger for the playoff situation, that has been pushed back to January 23rd. So I'm not going to have to eat 2 cheeseburgers, which would have killed me. So yes, Evil Badger, you are correct. That wager is still on. That wager is still on. Thank you, Evil Badger. Thank you for your generosity. I very much appreciate it. $25 is the perfect example of 4 isn't workable. Why not? Why not? What's not workable about it? The SEC is going to get a whole bunch of teams in the playoffs. They're going to have a bunch of home games in the playoffs. In a 2014 playoff. In every other sport, it works, but we can't make it work in college football. I don't understand that. I don't get it. I don't get it. And by the way, for all of those, again, this is what I say every year. Yeah, Cyclone. The bet was, and I repeated this over and over and over again. If the 2026 playoffs, if it doesn't have 4 AQs for the Big Ten and the SEC, I will eat a cheeseburger. It just so happens that December 1st was the deadline to make that decision. I never talked about December 1st being part of it. If 2026, if the Big Ten and the SEC do not have 4 automatic qualifiers each, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger because I thought it was a fait accompli. Not that it was a fait accompli that it was going to be decided by December 1st. I thought it was going to be decided way beforehand. And here's one thing. And then we're going to get to your phone calls. This whole thing about G6 conferences, they should not have a playoff, or G6 conferences should have their own playoffs, or G6 conferences should not get 2 teams in the playoffs in a 24-team playoff format. I say this every year around the portal time. All of your teams, everybody in the chat room, all of your teams, all of you in the portal are going to take a G5. Most of you, almost all of you, are going to take a G5, G6 for next year player in the portal. And a lot of them are going to produce for you. Some of them are not. The health and the well-being of the G6 schools is great for the health and the well-being of the Power 4 conference schools. Because they're developing players. Players are getting an opportunity that were overlooked in high school. Players that got hurt in high school cannot get recruited. They go to a G6 program. That G6 program has the money, the funding, a lot of it from the playoff revenues, to put together a team to play on every Saturday, to give the fan base, the students, to give the students scholarships, on and on and on. The coaches that learn the game of college football, they rise in the ranks. The health and well-being of the G6 schools help the wealth and well-being of the Power 4 conference schools. So it's okay for them to have a playoff berth. It's okay for them to have 2 playoff berths in a 2014 playoffs. Because it helps your program. When you get that G6 guy and you brag about him in the chat room like you're going to, and that's fine, think about that G6 guy would not have the opportunity to end up at Oklahoma State, to end up at Rutgers, to end up at Mississippi, to end up at LSU, to end up at Georgia, to end up at Washington. If they did not have the ability, for the G6 schools did not have the ability to pay their bills. Okay. Alrighty, let's go to your phone calls. 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. Give me a phone call. Let me know. Greg, is it me or was I dreaming? You saying a while back that we would get more info on those 3 universities going on a tantrum to the SEC?
Call from
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, can you hold on one moment, please?
Yes, sir.
Opie, I don't remember. I just don't. Things have been going so fast, and I don't recall. That's my best answer. I'm sorry, Opie. If you can remind me on a tandem, there's been so many positioning of schools. I don't know exactly when. I'm sorry, Opie. I can't help you with that. I don't know at what point. I don't know. Sorry, sir. I'm sure. I can't remember what I was referring to because I don't know exactly what time I was referring to what you're saying in the chat. Check it out. 2 championships. Why not? Well, because the G6 schools would not make that much money if they had their own tournament. There would not be enough eyeballs on it. They would not get the money, to be honest with you. Just like the NCAA March Madness. If you put all the small schools together and they all had their own tournament, they wouldn't make hardly any money. But they're playing with the big boys. They get them enough money to so they can pay all their bills with their athletic department. Because a lot of those schools don't have football programs. Christopher Hooter, or they have a lower level program. Christopher Hooter, the floor is yours. Thanks for your call. I appreciate it, sir.
All right. Begin. Where to begin? Just Lane Kiffin, yes.
Huh?
Okay. Apparently, there's an issue with the Ole Miss NIL clearinghouse.
There is.
Is that a question or a?
No, you said there's the Ole Miss doesn't have an NIL clearinghouse. They might have they probably have a collective. They have their own NIL machinery inside the athletic department. Is there a problem?
Yeah. Okay. Correct. Yes, and apparently they were struggling to get. No, they were kind of grandfathered in some guys, but they were not valid business purposes.
Oh.
So they haven't cleared the hurdle, and apparently that's one of the issues.
Okay.
And this is a structural problem with Ole Miss because it's a tiny town, right? I guess it's not a big city and all that kind of stuff. I guess.
Is this being reported somewhere or?
This was I saw it. Well, I Googled it. I saw it on a podcast somewhere. Then I just Googled it and it popped up.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. Now, again, before the Deloitte clearinghouse took place, you could get some big NIL deals, with your players that you're bringing in or your current players, and you didn't have to worry about having that deal cleared by the Deloitte clearinghouse. There could potentially have been players across the country who haven't gotten paid on those big deals. Maybe that's what you're referring to. I have not seen that anywhere, but I'll go ahead and take a look. But,
I saw on a podcast here. I just did a Google search. Okay, here's an AI. It says the Ole Miss NIL clearinghouse has faced challenges regarding the approval of the deals, with many submissions being denied due to not meeting, quote, valid business purpose requirements.
Oh, yeah. Now, is that okay? Is that Ole Miss in particular, or?
Well,
because that's been happening across the country.
Well, this was Ole Miss in particular, and this may be one of the sticky points why Kiffin is considering leaving.
Maybe but maybe I don't know. I'll have to, if you can send that to me, some sort of link. I would love to look at it. Now, maybe Ole Miss does have a particular problem with this issue, because they don't have actual for-profit businesses backing these NIL deals, and a lot of them are
paying them. They were just paying them, right?
A lot of them are getting denied. But again, that is going on across the country as well. So, but go ahead, sir.
Yeah, but the other places that's going on across the country don't employ Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay. And then another potential issue is, by state law in Mississippi, you're not supposed to sign anyone past 4 years. And apparently they've kind of gotten around that with his extension. They did it through some private entity, maybe the athletic club or whatever. But maybe that's an issue too. So those are two things that I just heard earlier today. I thought I'd pass that on. I don't think the 4-year thing's a big deal, but I do think the NIL clearinghouse might be a big deal.
Yeah. And again, there might be some negative recruiting going on. Like, people are throwing up a bunch of stuff that might not be true. But yeah, I mean, some programs are going to find it a little easier to get their NIL deals passed by the Deloitte Clearinghouse, because their NIL deals are backed by honest-to-goodness for-profit businesses. There's a sweet spot there that schools have found, that Deloitte has been approving a lot of these deals that are, for-profit marketing for for-profit businesses. I do find it kind of curious when these schools are promising, we can give Lane Kiffin $25 million of NIL support for his football roster. They can't really promise that, because they're not in control of what Deloitte is going to clear or not. I think a lot of that is, we think we can get you $25 million in support, but they can't really promise that. Past, of course, the rev share money. But go ahead, sir.
Well, I would think that just by nature of their zip codes, I would think LSU and Florida might be in a better position to maybe take aim at $25 million. You know, legit, right? Versus Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss has a headwind there. That's
probably true. But I'll tell you some sad news. I'll tell you some sad news. Minnesota has more Fortune 500 companies here in Minnesota than basically anywhere else. I mean, we're absolutely loaded. That's one of the reasons. But I won't go down that road. But none of them, hardly any of them, none of them basically are participating in NIL for the University of Minnesota. Because
you gotta be the poster child for that. You gotta rope them in
because they're not quite comfortable yet on the legality of it. They're not quite comfortable yet. Now, some of them have. Sun Country Airlines, Cub Food has always been a big supporter and everything, but there was a thought at University of Minnesota, like, man, we are going to really go to town, because we've got these Fortune 500 companies that are really tied in at the University of Minnesota, by the way. That's why University of Minnesota has such a large footprint. Let's put it that way. Huge research, large footprint, billions of dollars. It's a rich market, but that's why a lot of people thought, man, oh man, we're going to have the advantage over Iowa and Wisconsin and all these teams around us, Nebraska. We're going to blow all these guys away because we got all the Fortune 500 companies. but they're not participating, not yet. So again, you can't quite go by the market or determine who's going to be engaged. But of course, in the state of Louisiana, yes, you guys are set. No question about that.
And in the state of Louisiana, everybody's all in, right?
Yeah. And that's not the case in other parts of the country, like Minnesota.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. I think he's going to LSU. I don't want to tell you. I can't say why I think that, but I do think he's going to LSU.
Yep. And I think we'll probably hear it Saturday, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Saturday night.
Yeah.
If they can keep it under wraps that long.
Well, I hope they do. I really hope they do because I don't know, man. I really hope it. I hope it stays under wrap because of the plays at Ole Miss. I think it would be.
It's a tough situation. It's a tough situation.
Yeah.
Yep. And after, despite all the success he's had there, if he leaves, there's going to be animosity, right, and that sort of thing, which is too bad, right?
Yep. Now, did you see SEC shorts?
Oh no, I haven't seen it this week yet. No, what was it?
You go check that out because I thought about you and Ryan Brooks and Go Black 45 because at the end of that SEC shorts, go take a look at it. Basically, they're trying to console the Mississippi guy because looks like Lane Kiffin's going to leave. But then the lady who was representing, God, what school is she representing? I think it was Tennessee. Yeah, she said something like, "But don't you worry about it," or something, because what you're about to go through, LSU's going to go through later. Something like that. Something like that. So,
there you go.
Yeah. Go check it out. Alrighty, sir.
Okay, I got one more question for you. So, okay, now with the rumblings of the Super League, and by the Super League I mean the Power League, the Big Boy League.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the rest of the story on Michigan and USC.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Right? Just don't want to say it out loud, but maybe that's what they're worried about.
Yeah.
So
the only counter, that's what everyone said at the time, but you would think that Michigan would know that if they sign a grant of rights in 2046 with the Big Ten, the extended grant of rights, you would think they would know that there would, and USC too, that there's no way there's going to be a Super League, a 24, 32, 36, 40 team Super League without Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. Like if they're willing to sign the grant of rights to 2046, you know what I'm saying? It's not like Michigan's going to be missing out on anything.
No, but it could change the composition of that league.
But Ohio State, there's not going to be Super League without Ohio State.
Well, I understand that, but if it all ends at 2036 as opposed to 2046, then the Super League of 2037 could look different than the Super League of 2046, right?
Sure.
I mean, if they do sign on to the extension grant of rights, and I'm kind of with you, the Super League is going to be all of the Big Ten and all of the existing SEC. There's 34 teams, whatever that is, and whoever else they want to add, and maybe they go to 42 or 48 or whatever. But But I just kind of thought there may be more background story on the USC and Michigan thing, and that's sort of what came to mind today. So anyway,
you got it, buddy.
I'll leave it there. Go Tigers! Happy Thanksgiving. Okay.
You thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah. Bye.
We've got Brett Yormark, Commissioner Brett Yormark, TNT, on the strength of the Big 12 men's basketball, expansion made us stronger, much deeper. So again, Brett Yormark, very positive about the Big 12 expansion, the latest expansion. Now, was the Big 12 greedy when they expanded? No. They looked out for their self-interest. Brett Yormark did an incredible job at the commissioner of the Big 12. Opie, I think he's talking about Lane Kiffin. I would think that within 5 years, he wins a national championship. Within that time frame, he will leave for the NFL. He's got unfinished business there. How many, now, did he coach anywhere else except for, he coached the Raiders, correct? I believe it was the Raiders. And I don't think he was head coach anywhere else, correct? Phone lines are open, 763-260. Thank you, Opie. 1333. Uh-oh.
Call from
Evil Badger.
We've got Axe Week. We've got the Evil Badger. He's feeling good. He believes they're going to take the axe. No. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, especially after they totally dominated Illinois.
Yep.
I don't think Minnesota has a chance against Wisconsin. And the X will be coming back to Madison.
No comment.
Hey, I was just happy they just dominated Illinois and made Burt look bad.
Yeah. Your team is on the late swing up. And my team is couldn't be any lower right now. So, yeah, I'm in trouble. I'm definitely in trouble. I don't know. I don't know. I think, the Gophers are so undermanned on the line of scrimmage. I think the Badgers are probably going to be feast. Now again, Drake Lindsay was brilliant last week, but you know what? It's hard to. Drake Lindsay's going to have to play a perfect game, and I don't know. That's tough. That's going to be tough.
Right. And I think Bickle finally woke up and started playing younger players that are more enthusiastic and really want to play instead of. I believe that some of the players are just there to collect an NIL and don't really care about playing.
Mm-hmm.
But that really wasn't the reason why I called. The one question I have is about the CFP and the possible playoff Super League down the road.
Okay.
Personally, I think it's the ESPN Invitational for the CFP. It's who ESPN wants, and the rest doesn't really matter. That's what I believe. The Big 12 is only going to get one team in. The ACC is only going to get one team in. And wouldn't ESPN have to basically give up the CFP if there was a Super League?
Well, I mean, would they have to give up the playoffs if there was a Super League?
Yeah.
Are you talking about a Super League of like 40 teams or so?
or the 70 team
That 70 team thing, that's just
Rudy project.
but that just isn't gonna. The 70 team thing is never gonna happen. I'm sorry, everybody. It's just it can't happen. I mean, why? And I'm not.
I don't want
going,
it to happen.
I'm not going off on you, Ryan. I'm just look, everybody. I know President Gee, former President Gee of Ohio State and West Virginia, put it out there this week. If you've got Michigan not wanting to extend the grant of rights with the Big Ten, to extend it from 36 to 46, because they want to keep themselves open to a possible Super League. Michigan is not talking about a 70-team Super League. Michigan is talking about a Super League. Okay? If the Big Ten deal is not good enough for Michigan, a 70-team Super League is not going to be. Michigan, they're never going to go for it because they would take all the risks. They're not going for that. No, none. In other words, guys, unless Michigan and Alabama and Georgia, they all get together and they put out a letter saying, oh, maybe we are for a Super League. Let's talk about it. It's not impossible. It's not